What's going on, everyone? TimProVision here. Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we're going to do a little breakdown of the new map Broken Moon. We already did a little preview earlier in the week, but if you did not know, Respawn actually released a 2-minute trailer that showcases a lot of this map, and they did it unlisted on their YouTube channel. I'm not quite sure why they did this, but there's an article that was linking to this trailer, and we are going to watch it through, and then we're going to go back and break down every little POI because there's a ton of information that is honestly pretty revealing. So let's just jump right into it. I'll give you my unfiltered thoughts as we go through this, and I might do a couple pauses here and there. Right off the bat, though, I will say these buildings are actually pretty large. If you look at the door for scale, these round buildings are pretty massive, and there's actually like 5, maybe 6 of them. And this kind of goes back with the theme that I was talking earlier in the week. A lot of the points of interest are 2 times bigger than all the other maps, so this kind of seems evident of that right away. Beautiful as well. And there's a lot of zip rails, huge amount of zip rails. Tree looks sick. No, graphically, I feel like Apex is pushing the boundaries, even on this old engine, and it's a 3 or 4-year-old game now. This looks dope. A little broken part here. This is definitely an edge POI because this is the skybox in the distance. Again, we do have a zip line here, but additionally, there is also a zip rail, and it looks like the zip rail kind of flows right through and like through the building almost, which is pretty cool. The music and the vibe of this definitely gives me Halo, like Reach, Halo vibes, maybe a little bit of Destiny as well. Right here, again, you can see that this is a massive building. It reminds me of Map Room, maybe because it has a satellite dish, but this building is similar to the Olympus or this like little airship thing, so that's not anything too unfamiliar. We got more zip lines over here around the tree, and again, we got the rail system, so they're going really hard with the zip rails, that's for sure. Very beautiful. This seems like a more central POI, but we'll get more into that later. Again, zip rails all over the place. This was also the POI they showed, I believe, in the initial teaser last week, the in-game teaser if you did the ticket. Love the music. Hopefully I can post the music without getting copyrighted. This is interesting, though. I think this was also in the trailer. I think the first trailer that they revealed. But this is like a fan. You can go from here to here. You'll be able to float up there, I believe, which is nice. This kind of reminds me of Harvester, but it's almost like if Harvester had a accessible part across the middle. This might be them mining ferrofluid. This POI reminds me a lot of a sorting factory from World's Edge. These cranes will probably be pretty contested spots, like Valkyrie teams will probably rotate to these. This one kind of seems like you'll be completely revealed though, but this one here might be pretty good if you cover your back on the building. Again, zip rails going through this whole area. And they also said they're contrasting like heaven and hell, so that kind of looked like more of like the hell side, maybe in between. This is definitely like more heaven with plants. Hydroponics, it's stating. This POI for sure is my favorite. I believe this is Terraformer or something they call it. Again, we've got zip rails going all the way around. And it looks like this zip rail goes from here to here. So maybe these are going to be quick zip rail rides that you can't just use to get around certain spots. And this almost makes me think that the zip rail net is going to be a lot of individual ones, really just all over the place. We see another zip rail that goes up to the middle. So these things might be coming from everywhere. I love the verticality here as well. The fact that you can have people up here and kind of go all the way down. Pretty sweet. Beautiful skybox. Atmos station. Atmos silo. Atmos station. You can see the Terraformer POI in the back. So there's the trailer. Let's break down a little bit more with the article. Just right off the bat, though, they do talk about a little bit how Broken Moon is a terraforming project commissioned by blah, 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 blah. The big thing here, though, is that the meteor impacted at 2708, and then they started being habitable around 2715. This means just 7 years, which means this is about almost 20 years after they started putting people on this planet or on this moon. So they've definitely been on the moon for a while, and it definitely shows by the amount of like development they've had. We talk about the zip rail. We kind of know this now. They're very similar to zip lines. You can move pretty quick on them, and your kind of like physics of the game is very similar to zip lines. And I guess it's pretty hard to aim on them as well because really want people to go on the zip rails and just railing everyone from the air. So, and they kind of hinted at in the player event that I went to last week that zip rails might be coming to some of the other maps as well. We'll have to wait and see how they're received. This is a massive picture that I want to go over. This one right here shows a ton, if I'm being honest. You know, they did state that the POIs were going to be about 2 times bigger on this map than other maps, and it's definitely showing. The fact that this POI is massive and is right next to this one, right next to this one, I think there's just going to be less dead spots between each POI, which I think is good. It's going to speed up rotations. At least when you are rotating, you're going to be rotating through areas with loot and other sort of things. We've had enough of Stormpoint where you're just rotating for endless amounts of time through like basically nothing. And the fact that this is almost the opposite, I think is going to be a good thing. There's also rumors that this might replace World's Edge for competitive, which I think would make sense, and it's definitely kind of gives me a World's Edge kind of vibe almost. Not necessarily an art style, but just an overall general like play style and play theme. So I could see this replacing World's Edge for ranked or competitive as well. Start off with the Terraform POI. This is the one that I stated that I really liked. I think this thing is pretty sick. It looks absolutely beautiful. We can see some loop hills here in the water. And again, we got the zip rails that do kind of go from side to side, kind of all the way around it, plus a zip rail that does go up into the building. If we go to Stasis Net Array, again, this reminds me of like Map Room on Kings Canyon. Completely asymmetrical space with a central honeypot of loot. They go out of their way to say that there's a lot of loot in the center here, so that's pretty cool. It could be like the hot drop. This also looks like a more smaller POI, and they did say that there's going to be a balance of POIs, so I think that makes sense. You know, this is probably going to be like a hot drop POI if you're looking for a lot of small close range action. We got Atmo Station and backup Atmo. Again, we got zip rails coming from different sides of the map going right up to the center, so you could see massive transportation options here. If this is coming from like the south, you can get to the center, and this is going from the center to all the way up to the north. This area looks like it's going to be pretty good for competitive play, just because there's a lot of variations in height here with a lot of cover. Again, I like the planet in the background. You'll notice on some of these pictures as well, there's this kind of like net over the planet, which must be going back to their anti-gravity thing they were exploring with, or this is how they contain the atmosphere on the moon. It's pretty cool, and I think it gives it like a Destiny sci-fi vibe, which is nice. Got Perpetual Core. This is the one we flew around in the preview as the sole source of power on the moon. So this is like the power station. This huge area supports a big fights and multiple landings. The core itself is a main seat of power here, but it can also easily be attacked. But I wonder if you're going to be able to interact with this thing. It's going to change the environment around it. It does say it can be attacked. Maybe they're just talking about how easily it is to be attacked in the middle. Right off the bat, I can tell you right now, there's going to be some sort of high tier loot in the middle. It just seems like it would draw people there. So I could expect that. In addition to that, we were also talking about this in the trailer. The uplift from the turbine below and the surrounding zip rails can offer unique escape strategies. So you can fly through this little vent fan thing here and hop onto the rails. Bionomics, this one is absolutely beautiful. This is definitely like more leaning into the heaven side of things. I really like these round buildings. I like that they're half open, half enclosed. This POI reminds me a little bit of like Fish Farm for some reason. Maybe it's because there's buildings in and around like this water swampy area. If we look at the Divide, this was one of the earlier ones in the trailer. This one is pretty interesting. This reminds me of, I think it is Relay on Kings Canyon, where you used to have the bridge in between the two kind of broken sides and you'd have the mountain up on top. I guess they did just bring that back for season 14. But again, we do have zip rails here. It looks like it kind of brings you in and around the POI, in and back out of it. We got some loop hills here in the bridge, and then just the two separations here. I don't think this POI will be anything too crazy. This definitely looks like a smaller one. You can see a back exit over here in the back. This could be a tunnel kind of looping yourself around on the side here. The Divide is a clustered spot of vertical houses filled with loot, separated by bridges that connect zip rails. It was one of the first towns on Clio, but was split due to continued instability on the moon. This is a fast-paced, high-energy location where zip rails can lead to quick victory, so that makes sense. Alpha Base, this also looks like more like it's in between the heaven and the hell sides. This is a little bit brighter, but it's not really like flowered off or whatever. This again, a lot of zip rails here coming from down to the middle up to the top. You got zip lines, you got another zip rail leading away from here. It looks like you got a beam of light over here. I wonder if that's like the hot zone or if that's for something else. I'm not quite sure. This looks like almost like astronaut settlement area. The site of the first moon landing, so that makes sense. Settlement area. Alpha's base is densely packed. Lunar buildings rest inside the giant moon crater. Exterior walls keep the fights contained, and the tight interior spaces require a big commitment. So yeah, this is kind of almost Kings Canyon vibe as well, which does bring in the fact that they did mention they're really bringing in from all the maps that they have worked on. So Kings Canyon having some more kind of alley fights where you're really maneuvering yourself around the map in a little bit more closed areas. Eternal Gardens, we got this little thing. That's cool. Vast open space that serves as a memorial of the tragic event on Boreas. Eternal Gardens is the home to a long-range field of flowers and trenches. It has a central tower that contains the only jump tower on the moon. Meant as a means of celebration, it is also a crafty way to reposition reposition for a fight or rotate to another zone. So the only jump tower in here, and you can now see it, yeah, there's a zip line going up to a balloon here. Pretty interesting. The only tower, which is pretty sick. And you do have protection while you're going up it as well, since it is kind of enclosed. I wonder if you can shoot through these. I'm not sure. It doesn't look like you can. You can also see that blue beam of light again. I wonder what that is for. And you got the planet in the background. This place is pretty beautiful, and you got these animals as well. Moving on to Breaker Wharf. This one is a asymmetrical space built for mid-range combat and connected by a bridge and zip rail. The parallel structures at Breaker Wharf is packed with multiple layers of verticality and the means to reposition between them, flanked by additional zip rails. It's also an easy way to rotate to another POI. So this is cool. This one reminds me of a map on Halo Reach. I can't really quite remember the name because it's been like 11 years. The zip rails, you can see how they come from far, kind of bring in here. You can loot these up and quickly get away. I like the zip line between the two buildings as well. You can see a purple armor here right in the middle, so that's pretty cool. I bet that'll be a hot zone where you can land there. I see another blue. So this loot here already looks like it's pretty good comparably to some of the other ones. I didn't see armors in the other images. Production yard. This reminds me a little bit of map room as well. You got like the little dock in the back with a little center area. Production yard's another large location on the map with a bullseye landing pad and 2 adjacent landings on the extent of this T-shaped structure. So it seems like the theme for a lot of these is having like a central area that kind of brings everyone into the middle. Usually you got high tier loot in the middle, and then you got a lot of outside areas where you can land as well. So this definitely gives people kind of the balance between, you know, high risk, high reward, or playing a little bit safer, but not having quite as many fights right away. And again, zip rails. Foundry. This is one of the first POIs, if not the first POI, where we're seeing something from the inside. Purple armor up top. So on top of the Foundry, could be a purple armor there every time. Who knows? The fact that it's in this picture is pretty revealing. This is a large POI, features a divided central hub split by 2 long arms filled with loot and enough landing spots for 4 teams. Pretty interesting. So that's 12 players. The integrated zip rails at the Foundry allows players to quickly travel across to the main hub or reposition for a fight. This is where the ferrofluid is refined and used to patch parts of the moon. And I guess this area is a lot bigger than what we're seeing right here based off that description. So, but again, purple armor up top. Dry Gulch reminds me of Blood Gulch from Halo, I guess just because of the name, but it also looks a little Halo-y to me. A lot going on here. I feel like we already kind of looked at this POI because here's the cranes. This must have been from the video. So the cranes definitely might be safe actually on this one that's near the building because you got this mountain in the background. So the cranes will probably be where people will be landing from, like Valcolts. Again, we got zip rails and zip lines connecting everything. It really looks like they're adding a lot of transportation to the maps, and not just in zip rails, but all these zip lines that we see everywhere. And again, this in addition to the fact that the POIs are 2 times larger, means you are just going to be able to get from POI to POI faster, and you're going to be hopefully be able to take more fights or play at least a little bit more strategically. I like the overall theme of this one. I like that it's kind of in this mining valley. Cultivation, I don't really remember this one from the trailer. It has similar round buildings as the first one in the trailer. And again, I think that this one looks very similar to the last one. I do get Halo vibes here. Again, like a Valhalla, or there's a couple exclusive Halo 1 PC maps here. The source for all moon food. So this is where the food comes from. Cultivation is made up of low-lying collection of circular greenhouses that connects to a large central greenhouse, the seat of the power in this location. So the power must be here with these other greenhouses around it. Easily defendable on all sides, so waterways cutting through the zone offers sneaky routes to loot up and assault the main structure undetected. So this must be what they're talking about. You can get up to here with some cover. The promenades is the place where most moon dwellers reside and get their supplies. This huge vertical visible landmark focuses on a hallway fight with zip rails throughout. This reminds me straight up of Olympus, of a Terminal, the one they added, I think it was like season 13 or season 12. I also wonder if there's tridents on this map. It doesn't really seem like they need to have tridents on this map just based off the amount of zip rails, and they haven't talked about them at all, and I don't think I've seen them, so it probably is not any tridents. So that is pretty much everything for the POIs on Broken Moon, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. I think the map is absolutely gorgeous. I think it's going to be one of the best maps we have had yet. And overall, I'm very excited to pick up this map when it comes out next week. I will see you in the next one. Happy gaming.